working correctly. You can see the screen. Audio should be all right. I'll quickly notify everybody that we are actually live so everybody can tune in on time. We have news coming out in 10 minutes. The market is doing quite a lot now as well, so that's going to be interesting to keep an eye on as well. And yeah, we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about the markets, and I'll try to answer some questions here and there whenever they come up. But yeah, that's for now. Let me quickly announce that I'm live. Live now. Where is it? There we go, and that should be all right. And then I'll post it on Twitter as well. So, yeah, that should be it. All right, what's up, everybody? How's everyone doing? Is everyone surviving this bearish momentum right here? Bitcoin is still holding the level right here, but Bitcoin is very much at the last level it needs to hold. If Bitcoin drops down below this level, who knows what can happen, but it can turn pretty ugly pretty soon. So hopefully that holds. I mean, like I said, we have some news coming out in about 9 minutes. The PCE Price Index, but obviously one of the, well, it seems to me that the key reason for this bearish pressure right now is bearish pressure in the entire market. You can see the S&P 500 right here is pushing down, and that has a lot to do, I think, with the GDP data we had. We had GDP data, as you can see. The GDP growth rate Q on Q, so quarter on quarter, was expected to be 0.3%, was minus 0.3%. So that increases uncertainty. That's bearish for US stocks in this case, unless we actually get some quantitative easing, but I think it's much too early to talk about that. So that's why the markets are pushing down. And yeah, I mean, if you zoom all the way out, could this be the start of a downtrend? Yes, it could be a start. It could be the start of a downtrend. We have to be honest about that. We have to be realistic about that. But so far, we're still around the main level that we need to hold. In my opinion, the main level that Bitcoin needs to hold is this area right here. So yes, the price is below that right now, but we can always reclaim that. So I'm not fully convinced yet that this is the start of a downtrend, but it definitely could be. All right, and if for example, if for example we're going to drop down below that level and we are unable to reclaim 94,000, we have to be realistic and say, all right, well, then it's most likely we're going to be dropping down lower. And we still have a lot of imbalances left to the downside, which we can fill, right? So if Bitcoin is going to start a downtrend, we can drop down pretty quickly. So that's what we should be aware of. But all right, so here's the data. I do have some charts to my left as well, which I have to keep an eye on. I have some trades running still, so that's going to be interesting how they hold up. So far it's fine, but nothing major. So yeah, how's everyone doing? I haven't checked into the chart, so let me quickly read through some messages. We still have about 5-6 minutes before the data comes in, so we're good for now. Yeah, Alex, we can drop down into 90,000. It all depends on if Bitcoin is going to be able to hold this level. Can we even if we drop down below 93,600, can we reclaim that? I have to be honest. I mean, very often what happens is that if the first 30 minutes of the US session are bearish, we can definitely turn that around, right? So I would definitely not, at this point of time, already say it's over. It's much too early to say that. Yaroslav, say I have some price alerts on say. None of them went off. Yeah, it's pretty strong, but I'm waiting for either 22 cents to break or for a retest here at 19 cents. Those for me are the key levels to keep an eye on. Ethereum support levels. Well, there's basically one, and that is what we are at right now, right? 1750, in my opinion, is the main support level. As long as we're holding that, that's fine. By the way, is the connection all right? Because I'm getting some messages here to my left that the connection is not amazing. So let me know if it's not great, but it should be all right. But no, for Ethereum, drop down below 1750 and we're unable to reclaim that, and that's a great short into this level right here at 1650. I think XRP supports, we're at that right now, 2.15. Drop down below that, we're going down to 2.05. And for the data, it's in 4 minutes or so. For the data, we're looking for lower than expected data. All right, this is basically inflation rate, and we want the inflation rate to be lower than expected. All right, so that's well, we'll see in 3 minutes whether that's going to happen, but that's what we're waiting for. Koningsdag was pretty good. My Koningsdag itself was pretty quiet, but King's Night was good. No, I personally would not long XRP right now. It's just compared to Bitcoin, it's relatively weak. So then, I mean, if you want to long Bitcoin, right? That's what I would say the reasonable approach is. No name. Who are you? I think you're Donny. Because you want to know so much about Solana, but I'm not 100% certain. Of course, let me quickly take a look at some other things here to the left as well. This news is going to be interesting. I mean, this is starting to look more and more convincing of a real bearish breakdown. But you never know. I mean, if you go to the TPO right here, the main level there is also this level here at 93,700. So I think we are at least going to see a retest, and then if the retest holds, we're going to drop down lower. So then that's also the time I would start to look for some short entries. But the best short entries are obviously the early ones, and the early ones are already, well, maybe not too late, but we're getting towards the late side for early shorts, right? I mean, early shorts were just after the news. When we got that GDP data news, the price was still around 94,500. So if you shorted then, which I personally did not do, but I did have the opportunity to do so, that was the early short. But now, if you would like to short coins right now, right? So if you want to short Ethereum, if you want to short Bitcoin, if you want to short Solana, the last short opportunity is to short at the retest, right? So either for Solana to short this area right here, for Bitcoin to short the retest of this area right here, and for Ethereum to short the retest right here at which is pretty close, by the way, but this. And the big problem with that is that we are uncertain whether it's going to retest and drop down lower, or, which is definitely still a possibility given the strength we've seen from Bitcoin in the last 2 weeks, or can we just easily reclaim this and get back into 95,000? Also a possibility. All right, so it's no guarantee that if you short from this area right here that you'll make profit. So that makes price action like this quite difficult, and you basically have to think about it for a very, very long time, and think for yourself. All right, well, do I think this fundamental bearish pressure that we have, because that is the main source of this bearish pressure, do I think that that's enough to push prices down lower? All right, news is coming. Enough talking. I've talked enough right now. I'll go over some more questions in a moment. I posted the link to the website I'm looking at down in the comments, so check that out. Then you'll get the data live, because there's a little bit of a delay on the live stream, and I cannot change that, but that means that I'll see the data earlier, and obviously we'll also see the data here on the chart, but we'll see. Yeah, all right, we'll see. News coming in 3 seconds. We'll see. Hopefully some of you are following this live as well. I don't want to take a look at the chart right here. I want to see the data here first, and then after that we'll react. The price doesn't seem to be moving that much. I can see in the top left. I also don't have the data yet, as you can see. All right, data's here. Ooh, it's higher than expected. Yeah, that's not good. That data is not good. No, that's bad data, everybody. I have to say. You can see it right. This is good enough, right? The quality or not? But the data is bad. I mean, you can see some data got revised. So the core PCE Price Index year on year and the PCE Price Index got revised about their previous data. And now it's 0.2% higher than expected previously. And you can also see the PCE Price Index itself is higher than expected actually. So this data is bearish. Now, does that mean that you should short the price right now? Not necessarily, but it's at least not good, unfortunately. But we'll see. I mean, markets are quite strange, and you can see the price moving up right now. See, the big question, especially after data right now, the S&P 500 is also bouncing. Maybe we got some other news. That's a possibility. That would be great. So far, a little bit of a bullish reaction to the news. The news itself is definitely not good. It's higher than expected, which basically means, and previously was also revised to being higher. So that basically means more inflation, right? So, or at least not as much as a decline in inflation that we expected. I think the most important thing right here for Bitcoin is going to be the reaction here to 93,800 and 93,600, right? You can see we have some major imbalances here to the upside. We have a single print right here, also around 94,000. So very, very simply said, and I think most altcoins will follow this. You can see right here, most altcoins are also very correlated to Bitcoin right now, even though the Bitcoin dominance is actually, well, no, not even though. The Bitcoin dominance is very high, right? So you can see a couple of altcoins such as BNB and SEI, which we talked about earlier. You can see that those are still outperforming Bitcoin here and are still stronger than Bitcoin. But most altcoins are first of all following Bitcoin, but are weaker than Bitcoin. All right, so that means that they'll be more bearish when Bitcoin is bearish, and they'll be less bullish when Bitcoin is bullish. So that's not great news for now. But like I said, we'll see if Bitcoin is going to be able to reclaim this level right here, around 93,600, 94,000. I don't care about the data. If we're able to do that with volume, then I'll have to conclude that this was a fake out and that we will be able to rally back into the range. In the end, technicals sometimes go above fundamentals. And because the fundamentals are always incorporated into the technicals, right? So yeah. Just Chris, I don't know. Rate cuts will happen if the inflation rate goes down. And this data was the inflation rate not going down. So this data doesn't make rate cuts more likely. And if we only have one data point of the GDP decreasing, that's also not enough. In my opinion, right? Or at least in my experience. Bull market continuing. It's difficult to say, David. I would say that we're not going to get a bull market like we have seen. But to be fair, I mean the data over the last month has not been super bad. I mean the data we got today was pretty bad, and obviously that doesn't make the chance higher that we are going to continue with bullish momentum. But I wouldn't say that the data we have today will completely destroy our hopes and dreams. Like I said, I still think it's a real possibility that we're going to be able to reclaim our main support level, or previously our main support level, right here at 93,800 and 93,600. We just have to do it today, right? If we're unable to do that, then that's obviously bearish. Rate cuts in June. I don't know what is the consensus right now. I think it's in June, right? June is also the expectation by most market participants for interest rate cuts. This is for May. Yeah, May they still expect it to be the same. For June, they actually do still expect a cut. So you're right. Noor, I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think this data is enough for the Federal Reserve to stop quantitative tightening. I think they need more. All right, because if the inflation rate is higher than expected, and if the inflation rate is not decreasing as they want it to, they might even do some more QT, right? You're going to get quantitative easing if you actually see pain in the economy, and if the inflation rate is low. All right, so right now we just got data that the inflation rate is still higher than expected even. So then a reduction in quantitative tightening or quantitative easing, I don't think we can talk about that, unfortunately, because I would love to see that, right? I would love to get some quantitative easing right now, but we have to be realistic. But no, I don't expect that. M2 correlation. Look, you see a lot of people talking about the money supply, etc. I think it's you have to keep an eye on the money supply. But the most important money supply, like there's a lot of data right now on the Chinese money supply increasing a lot, and I've talked about that for a year already. But it's very lagging, right? I mean, basically, if you see the M2 going up, if you see it going down, then Bitcoin has already moved in parallel with that, right? So I'm not against using it, but you do have to add some context. I mean, the M2 is very often seen as this magical indicator that can provide all the data you need regarding the financial markets, but that's just not true. Raika, I don't know. The Fed Watch is usually a good source. Like, this is the best source for probability for rate cuts that we have, and yeah, I mean, there's a 35% chance that it's not going to be cut, but it's still most likely that we will see a rate cut in June, which I mean, that wouldn't even be that much. That wouldn't even be that bullish because it's fully priced in, but that is the current situation right now. Let's see what's going on. So the S&P 500 has not really dropped down after the data. It's actually holding on relatively well. Bitcoin, I still think Bitcoin has a chance here to reclaim support. We just have to do it quite soon, right? So the 4-hour time frame candle is closing in 2 hours. I would prefer to see Bitcoin reclaim back into the range it was in within the next 2 hours. If we're unable to do that, I'm going to have to make some conclusions about what I expect in terms of for altcoins and just in general the markets, because you can see right here, most of the coins are still very correlated to Bitcoin as well, right? So Bitcoin is stabilizing, but if Bitcoin is not going to be able to get this reclaim and will do something like this, most altcoins will fall down together with that as well. Volume is quite high in the markets though, so that's good, I think. Not always when the price is falling, of course, but volume is pretty good. There's no major coins that stand out to me at this moment. Most of the major traded altcoins are normal. Yeah, I mean, but that's always the case, right? I mean, if altcoins are very correlated, there's normally not one altcoin or a couple of altcoins that do better. Sometimes that is the case, but it happens very rarely. Taking a look at some other data right here. Let's see if there's some more news. I doubt it. No, nothing. I mean, Trump tweeted something about GDP data. Bitcoin is actually holding on relatively well, and we also have this 200 EMA right here at 93,000. But Trump said something about the data here, about this is Biden's stock market, not Trump's. True to a certain extent, but obviously, I mean, Biden already left in January, so this data is more so, or at least it's, well, I mean, there's a grain of truth in this, but obviously we'll have to see. We'll have to see how it develops over the course of the next over 2025, and then we can discuss whose problem it was or not. Personally, I always think that presidents, they have some control over the economy, But I always think it's a little bit overstated. Like presidents, if the economy is doing good and the stock market is doing good, presidents always say, well, I did that, right? I made the stock market boom. And then when it's crashing, it's always something else, right? So personally, I don't really believe that the US president can make markets move long term. Short term, as we have seen in the last couple of months, it definitely is possible. Let's see. I'm not going to take a look at Alpaca. I'm just not going to do it. It's too much. TrueCoin, Ton ecosystem, I do keep an eye on it, but there hasn't been enough activity to talk about it too much, right? I do personally keep an eye on it because I do think it's interesting. However, and I believe Bloom is coming out in the next 2 months or so, so that's going to be interesting. I'll keep an eye on that. I might even make some videos on that. But it's But I'll see. I mean, if there's anything interesting, I'll talk about it. And on a day like today, I do see that the Ton ecosystem is doing quite well. But it's there's not enough for me to make a full video about it, or to, well, I can mention it in live streams. But that's about it. Say, I've talked about Say before. Izu baby. But Say is very clear to me. I'll either buy this if we drop down to, if we close above 22 cents, or I'll buy at this major support towards 18.5 and 17 cents. Anything in between to me is basically chop. So it looks good, looks strong. We got a lot of volume here from the bottoms, but that's about it. BitTensor, Tau. I'm going to end the stream in a moment, guys. I have some other things to do as well. Need to keep an eye on the markets a little bit more in a focused way, of course. And we check the data, right? If you're tuning in a little bit later, the data ultimately was bearish. The core PCE Price Index and PCE Price Index were revised to be higher than the last time. And the actual data today was either as expected or, as you can see, higher than expected. So bad data. Does that mean Bitcoin is going to crash? No, but we need to reclaim this level between 93,600 and 94,000 if we want to prevent to crash. If we're not going to be able to reclaim that, I will have to assume we're going to drop down lower. But BitTensor right here, it's going to test that main support level here at 325. As expected, if you watch my last video, the reaction to that level means everything. All right, if Tau is going to be unable to hold this support level right here at 320, 325, we're likely going to drop all the way back down to 250. But if we're going to be able to hold that, we can stay in this bigger area right here with a potential move up to 450. But it's too uncertain for me, especially given the situation that Bitcoin is in, to tell you I think this is most likely. All right, I would just be lying to you, and that's not something I try to do. All right. A CME gap. Is there a CME gap? I don't know. No, I don't think so. When should there be when should we have made a CME gap? There's a CME gap to the upside. Before that, I don't actually see one. So I don't think that's true, or I'm completely missing something. But there's at least not a CME gap that hasn't been filled, I think. Yeah. Yeah, Taylor Smith, the sentiment about pre-sales right now in general is just very, very bearish. I think Remedix and NextChain, I still think that they have some potential, but obviously we do need some strong markets for that. And right now they still seem to be in relatively early stages, so I'd say we're fine. If you bought when I bought, we bought at relatively low prices as well, so should be able to make a profit. But the sentiment and the comments you read about these pre-sales is incredibly negative, which I understand, because a lot of pre-sales this year have been absolutely shit. But I wouldn't listen to that much. In my the last time I checked them last week or so, it still looks fine. But that's it, guys. That's we're going to end the stream. Quick summary. data was bad. Data was bad earlier this afternoon. Data was bad during the live stream. Now the entire crypto market is looking at Bitcoin. Bitcoin needs to reclaim at least 93,600. If we're going to be able to reclaim that, great, preferably with some volume. But that would be great. If we're unable to reclaim that within the next, well, let's give us 6 hours, then I'll assume that this was a real bearish breakdown, and we're going to drop down lower into, well, where are we dropping down into? Into 91,000, 91,500, that area. So those are my thoughts. I think that's what you need to know. That's hopefully the stream was valuable, looking at the data, giving some more context. But that's it. So thank you all for being here. I uploaded a market update as well, but that's a little bit less. That's a little bit outdated compared to the stream. So maybe not watch that. But I did upload it, and we did talk about some interesting things as well in there. So check that out if you want to. But for now, that's it. So hopefully I'll see you all in the Telegram group, in the Discord group. Links will be down in the description. Make sure to follow me on X as well, which you can see right here. It's at cilinixfxcapital. So hopefully I'll talk to you there as well. But for now, have a great day. Take care in these tricky market circumstances.